company was officially like formed in 2020. I got funded in 2020, so you might have heard me say that. Like, you don't really start until you got some money. So
we started in 2020.
We was doing things in 2020, but like we didn't have no money. My name is Kameale Christina Terry, and I am the co-founder and CEO of ChargerHelp.
Evette Ellis, co-founder, chief workforce officer here at ChargerHelp. We fix broken EV charging stations.
We have a technology-driven solution, understanding why charging stations break, how often do they break, how quickly can you fix them, and most importantly, how quickly can you reskill somebody in order to fix them.
Folks that come from gas and oil, cable, internet installation, they all have skill sets that are necessary to be a great electric vehicle supply equipment technician. We would take them, give them the precise training.
So we work directly, typically with utilities, cities, and small businesses. And so for a small business, if you've deployed maybe 5 or 10 charging stations, in your parking lot, we would sell what we call reliability as a service. And so it's a per month, per charging station fee that allows for essentially unlimited truck rolls and also a clear understanding of what your uptime metrics are. The EV charging industry has a telecom issue, is that these are IoT assets, so Internet of Things, and so they all communicate to a cloud. If your charging station broke before ChargerHelp, you would have to check if you had warranty. Typically, the warranty was only for parts, so if you were experiencing a communication issue, software issue, if you couldn't prove that there wasn't something physically wrong with your charging station, you would have to pay out of pocket in order for someone to come and diagnose. Oftentimes, you would have an electrician come out, and if it's a software, comms, or firmware issue, typically the electrician would not necessarily know what to do. Oftentimes, that's why the charging stations just stayed broken. So we see charging stations that people have ripped out because they couldn't find anybody to fix it. The ChargerHelp solution is really twofold, right? It's fixing an immediate need, which is getting someone on site to solve it, but it's to say that what you've experienced is probably part of a larger problem. How do I aggregate that in order to move further upstream to get this problem to be gone, period. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. My first job in this industry, I was what they call EV driver support. So someone who just picks up the phone when a driver, either they have questions or if they're stranded, they have any type of issues. And so I first started to understand oh, this infrastructure isn't reliable. By the time I left the company, I was director of programs. The ecosystem is very confusing, so I just formulated it into a curriculum on things that you should understand in order to fix a charging station.
I grew up in Compton, California. My entire career history has been workforce development. I worked 10 years with the Department of Labor's Job Corps program. We were both contractors on a project at Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. She had written the curriculum for the EVSE technician, and I was the career coach. She had just completed our first cohort of folks that went through her curriculum, and I think it was their graduation day. And she told me, I've started this, ChargerHelp is going to do these things. And I was like, you go, girl. And then she said, I want to talk to you, would you be my co-founder? I came from a working family, we get a job, we get a paycheck, we pay our bills on Fridays. Kameale comes from entrepreneur background, her father was, so she had a different understanding. And she had a whole plan. And so I really didn't see where I fit into it. But once she explained to me that workforce development, she wanted to be weaved into ChargerHelp, right? Then I could see my value add there.
The lovely people behind me are my co-founders and I's why. And the reason why the work that we do is so important and also contributes to how we've built our business. When we set out to build this company, these lovely folks behind us was not really able to be there because they passed away from lung diseases. I'm from South Central Los Angeles, my co-founder's from Compton, and we know very deeply what it's like to see greenhouse gas emissions impact your life in a very significant way.
To be a EVSE technician at ChargerHelp, one thing I hope it is dignified. And most importantly, they have equity. When ChargerHelp does well, they do well. We chose $30 an hour as a starting pay because we didn't want our techs to have 2 or 3 jobs. Now, Kameale and I want to be very profitable. We believe we can do that and pay someone a decent wage. And we didn't want these huge gaps between our technicians, our management team, our C-suite. Everybody needs to make a decent living. I tell them all the time, look, technician jobs are popping up all over the place. I don't know if they're gonna love you like we love you, right? We really love our technicians.
What do they say, ignorance is bliss? I think I just, so, you know, when I went out to fundraise, I really didn't know much about fundraising. And actually, before we even went out to fundraise, I did pitch competitions. And so we had actually won almost $500,000 from pitching. So like, this was at the top of COVID, so everything was online. And so I would practice with Evette beforehand, and like, sometimes I'll apply to pitch competitions that were free, that didn't have any money, but maybe they would introduce you to people. So most of the start of ChargerHelp, you know, that first year, you know, came from prize money. And then once we got that, we had traction. And then, interesting enough, you know, I call it the George Floyd moment, right? Where you had a lot of companies making commitments and wanted to invest in Black founders. And so that definitely pushed our story into different spaces that we probably wouldn't have gotten into. But it also, you know, forced us to really see, you know, which investors actually cared or understood what we were doing, or if they were just more interested that we were like Black and a woman, right? Which is such a catch-22, because you're like, I'm not raising money because I'm Black and female, but I also want you to value my business. So to me, it's less about being put on a pedestal or these different things, but it's to say that like, this company is incredible, period.
Getting the opportunities that we got in that season is not separate from what was going on. It was a result of what was going on. And so that's why our commitment to dignity, to equity, to inclusion has to always be weaved in what we do.
Because that's what we were birthed out of.
That's what we were birthed out of. Not to get too deep into this, but I often think of his little girl, and she needs to have opportunity, choices, right? Privilege, because our family paid for it.
The advice I would give to other Black female founders specifically is to know your numbers. I think the best thing that I ever did is understand my unit economics, so someone can ask me like, what is the cost? What's your price? What's your margin? How can you reduce that? I just make sure that my numbers don't lie. If you focus on your numbers, you can be profitable and you don't need these investors. Like, that's what ChargerHelp is trying to get to, is where we don't need other investment, that we'll be able to sustain ourselves.
Know what your core value system is. And as you take on investment, as you take on a co-founder and your C-suite and your numbers grow as far as people, that they have to acclimate to what the core value system is of your company. And then the last thing I'll say for co-founders, really get comfortable and secure in your lane and what you're good at. Kameale is good at some things that I'm just not. And nor do I want to spend time getting good at, because I have a co-founder that's good at it, and I'm good at things that she is not. And we learned how to use that to our advantage. And it's a great way to leverage skill set, professionalism, and networks. So don't marry yourself. Marry someone that is different from you, that you can collaborate with.
I like you.
You all right? You all right, girl, you all right.